Hello, happy people. I hope you're having an amazing day today. Today I'm doing a quick little review I just did of about a half an hour read of a short story called He by H.P. Lovecraft for you folks. So I did a deeper dive into Lovecraft when I was a junior in college. I'd never heard of him before, and I came across a 3-volume collection of all this stuff into 3 volumes by Del Rey. And Del Rey at the time was where I bought all of my fantasy and science fiction stuff, and really trust them as a label. So I bought it, loved it. At the time, Michael Moorcock was my favorite author for the previous 4 years. I was reading a lot of his stuff, but then or other things too, as I just got caught up. So I checked it out and liked it a lot. So basically, the idea here. So the first volume was all about his horror stuff, just generally. The second one were fantasy things set in dreamlands that were inspired by his stuff like the Gods of Pagana by Lord Dunsany in the dreamland stuff. And then also the last one were his Cthulhu stuff that he was sort of put on the map in a major way. People put cosmic horror. There were some cosmic horror stories before him, but I definitely think he put it on the map in a major way. This Cthulhu stuff. Like the Call of Cthulhu or show over its mouth. So I'm sure would have read it in the first volume, but I don't remember it all. For you folks, I just read it a second time, I guess, or maybe a first time on his website online. All the stuff is for free online. I'll link you to it in case you're interested in checking it out. And sort of, so the idea is that this definitely feels a very referential and autobiographical in some ways. So basically the idea is here we have a poet who has just moved to New York City to be inspired in his day-to-day stuff by what he calls the Cyclopean and big giant buildings, older ancient stuff that he can definitely feel inspired by. But he's not feeling that inspired. He does the occasional poem here and there in order to keep current, so that his friends and family will be telling him he should have gone to New York, like they said on the way there. And then he moves to Greenwich, where everybody tells him it's a place that has been taken over by New York City that moves and such, and he still doesn't feel it. He feels like it's just a bunch of fakers. They're not really. So he typically will go out at night or when there's nobody there to enjoy the detrituses of society and that sort of a thing. And then he will come across a guy, the self-titled who is an older guy who has an older cape, an older hat, and this style hat and such, and we'll show him around Greenwich and show him all the darker stuff. And that is a self-titled he, but who is he? What is his impact on our protagonist? We'll leave it to your imaginations. Now, I mentioned before, this feels a little self-autobiographical because first of all, Lovecraft was a writer, and this guy's a writer too. And he's living in New York City, just like Lovecraft did too. He didn't like it, just like Lovecraft did too. Right? You can definitely feel that in Cool Air. For example, in Cool Air, also by Lovecraft, the author is a author just like he is, and living and trying to keep as live as he can be, because authors didn't make a lot of money back then. They still don't. But yeah, so he's trying to live as cheaply as possible, and he lives in an apartment building with some mostly Spanish immigrants that are nice and so forth, but one of them is really takes him under his wing, who's a scientist. And then dark stuff happens in the horror section, and then you can definitely also feel that too in the one I just went back and read, the horror at Red Hook. Also, Red Hook is a district in New York City, and I went back and reread it. It's very controversial. It's got a sort of racist cones and death descriptions and so forth and such. It's absolutely a thing, but I still think I should mention it, right? Because I should definitely want to call out that racism is wrong, right? And Lovecraft was you can definitely tell, right? Particularly such stuff like that. So I went back and reread that and posted my review of it too. This one feels like those two, and that I thought Cool Air's the better one, but I don't. But anyway, I think that this one is an okay version of that, but I just don't remember having read it the first time. Oftentimes when I go back and read something a second time that I read, like a decade ago or 2 decades ago in this case, I will remember like the first little bit or the endings or something like that, or some of the descriptions, but not in this case. Now, this is not set in the Cthulhu mythos, even though it does use words like Cyclopean, which are typically used for Cthulhu mythos, and runes, like for example, it's used the ruins of the island that's risen, Ruelia, in the Call of Cthulhu, for example, that are from earlier eras or beyond, or made by aliens. Also, another phrase he'll use is non-Euclidean geometry to describe those things. But you get the ideas. So the idea here is that he's using those descriptions, but just for New York City. But there's nothing weird, nothing unusual. It's just how he wanted to come here and come across these great things that would inspire his poetry, and then he's like, he's a bunch of fakers, even in the poetic era of Greenwich. All right, so there you are. I'll go ahead and, but this is okay. I just feel like it's okay. I don't think it really goes in a strong direction. I don't particularly think the ending is a particularly great one either. So I'm only giving this a 6 out of 10. For if you're about to be varying, you can totally disagree with me, think it's worse or better, and so forth. But I think a 6 out of 10 is probably appropriate for it. For a short story that if I read it twice, it was so forgettable that I couldn't even remember. And if it's the first time I read it, it didn't stick with me that much. I've read it like 3 days ago. I can barely remember just 3 days later. Right? It's not the most memorable short story that Lovecraft ever wrote. In my opinion, it just didn't hit me that well either. Which mileage may vary. For you folks, have you read it? And if so, what did you think about it? Remember, I'm not a trained critic. I just do this as a fan. So there you are. So if you like this, your opinion will be just as valid as mine is. So if you like this, and so let me know what your thoughts are. Again, try to keep it spoiler free, like I did with my reviews. Like I didn't talk about the ending and why I just wasn't that impressed with it, or think that it's a particularly strong, typical Lovecraftian one either. But your mouth's moving. So please try not to talk about the endings or that sort of thing without actually like. In that sort of aspects, right? Because I don't want to, in case somebody is coming across this and be like, oh, I've never heard of that either. Check it out. So there you go. And then, if you like this video, why not hit the like button, because there's going to be and then the subscribe button. There's going to be a lot more to follow. I try to do 3 of these videos a week. These older genres of fantasy, horror, and science fiction for you folks. And then you can also, in addition to this, also do a video games on Wednesday. I do an older RPGs and such on Monday. I do Mondays. I do Fridays. I do movies, and on Saturdays I try to do a serial Saturday for the older forgotten genres. In case you're interested, check this out. And then also hit the bell icon to be notified of my 7 videos a week, and then also tell your friends, and just go back and watch some of my older stuff like this Lovecraft stuff for you folks. And there you are. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. I just, after all, that's where the channel comes from, all these other things. It's the worst thing about new books. It's a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones, right? There's not always some older stuff that might have forgotten about, heavily influential. Alrighty, and so there you are. I just wanted to thank you so very much for taking some time out of your day and investing it in watching my videos, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.